friends, 2 time zones, and a shared love of stories.
I'm Freya.
And I'm Jamie.
Bridging time zones 1 chapter at a time.
Welcome to Once Upon a Time Zone.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Once Upon a Time Zone. Today's episode is super exciting. We just had a really great in-depth chat with Mughal Rana. She is the author of Dawn of the Firebird, which is her debut fantasy novel, and we had like the best chat. I'm just coming off a high from talking about it, but we wanted to give a little bit of an intro. Of course, as usual, we wouldn't start this episode without talking about our current reads. But yeah, this is a little bit of a special episode, our first guest on the podcast. So super excited for you guys to listen to this one. But before, of course, we get into all of that exciting content, Jamie, what are you currently reading?
So I think last episode you were reading Words of Radiance. And this week it's my turn to continue my Stormlight Archive journey because I'm currently reading Edgedancer by Sanderson. So this is Stormlight Archive 2.5. It sits in between Words of Radiance and Oathbringer, and it's a roughly like 250-page novella that just gives you a little bit more context about Lift, another character who was introduced in the Words of Radiance, who I guess will be taking more of like a bigger plot in Oathbringer and the future books to come. So I guess, yeah, we just get a little bit more context, more time with her, and it feels like it's setting up something for the next book. So that is my current read. It's very entertaining so far. It's definitely interesting because it's a shorter read. First of all, so it's not, there are no switching POVs. We're just with Lift the entire time, and I haven't read a Sanderson book that is just one POV in a while. So it's like things seem to be moving quite quickly versus his multi-POV stories where obviously things move a bit slower just because you're flipping back and forth between different characters. So that's good so far. And I think just her perspective is a lot more childlike. She's a very childlike character. Like her whole thing is she's been 10 years old for 3 years or something like that. So we're in her mind and just the way she thinks of things. Like she calls her magic her awesomeness. And she also does have a sassy plant companion, which is funny because the book I was reading in last week's episode had a sassy plant companion. So yeah, it's an interesting read. I don't know if it's going to be my favorite read from Sanderson, but it's definitely like it's giving more context. There's some like Easter eggs in there, and it's fun. I feel like I needed a quick little something in between books.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like it.
I'll definitely have to go on to that one very soon because I feel like going on to it quite soon after Words of Radiance could be good as well, whilst I still like remember Lift as a character. Honestly, her interlude was so much fun. It was like, yeah, her calling it awesomeness. I was like, it took me a second to like get what she was talking about. I was like, you mean your magic?
I'm like, what's awesomeness?
I love that Sanderson does that though. He like, his perspectives are so, I'd like the fact that he can just quickly, I don't know, change into this very childlike perspective is super cool. And to be honest, like mini Words of Radiance rant, I loved the interludes in this one. I don't know whether it was because we had like a bigger cast of interludes in a way, or I think I said a lot in my vlog, the fact that I could actually focus on the interlude characters because I wasn't trying to remember all of our main characters as well as like, you know, I knew our main characters and I was familiar with them. So I was like, oh, okay, I can be introduced to another character and not have to freak out right now that I'm like have to remember somebody else.
Someone else. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was, I think I said the same thing in my reading vlog when I read Words of Radiance. Like right as I got to the first interlude section, I was like, oh my gosh, it's the interlude section. Oh, I'm not looking forward to this. And then I read the interludes and immediately after I was like, okay, fine. Those were really cool. Those were really cool chapters. Like, yeah, I think there was something better about them, like compared to the ones in The Way of Kings.
I couldn't put my finger on it. I really liked, I don't know how to actually, is it rinse or something like that. It's like
Oh, yeah.
RYSN or something like that. I
Yeah,
never knew
yeah.
how to actually pronounce like rinse. I don't
Rinse,
actually know.
risen. Yeah.
Yeah, to pronounce that name. I was just kind of reading it in my head. But I really liked her interludes in this one. I feel like they were really, really fun. And I'm really excited to see what interludes are actually good, like what these interludes mean later in the books. Like, why are we having them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I feel like we've got little maybe connections, but yeah, I'm
Because
very curious.
some of them were very obvious. Like some of them were really driving plot
Like Seth.
forward, and you're like, I can see, yeah, like I
Yeah.
can see where this is going. But some of them, yeah, we still haven't really seen
They're
where
just
those
kind
are
of
going.
there.
Like we've just kind of gotten them, and it's like, okay, that was cool, but what does it mean? Like where,
Yeah.
like when are we gonna see this character again? So yeah, but
I'm very
they were all
excited.
so cool.
Oh my gosh. Amazing book. Like, there was not one part. I was trying to think of like, oh, so here are my pros, and now these are my cons. And I was like,
No cons.
I don't think I have any cons.
He wasn't even writing as plain Chippy. I swear.
Literally, it was so humorous. Why was his, I was
Yeah.
like out, like laughing out loud at his writing. And that doesn't happen
Yes.
very often in any book.
Yeah. Like again, the banter was so good. It was just so like seasoned. And he also, I feel like, did not over explain as much. There were maybe a few parts with Kaladin when he was kind of,
Yeah.
I can't say it, but you know what I mean. There were a few
Yeah.
parts where it was like, okay, we're nerding out a little bit here. But
But it kind of almost in a
it
way
made
suited
sense.
Kaladin's character. Like, and
Yeah.
it was like, we're not new to this, but like he's kind of new to this. So it kind of, makes sense.
Yes. Yeah, made more sense in the context. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, 5-star reads. So easy.
Easy 5 star. But yeah, what are you currently reading?
I'm reading The Defender by Anne Huang. I just was like, I cannot go on to another fantasy book. And the books that are on my TBR this month, like the next book that I have kind of lined up is Empire of Gold, which is the third book in the City of Brass. And I know that that is going to be extremely epic as well and just like probably break me. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to have a little emotional reset and then I'm going to dive into it. So yeah, we're reading The Defender, which is the second book. I don't even know what the series is called. It's the second book to The Striker. They're football romances.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Sports ball.
Yeah, to
Sports
be
ball
honest,
romance.
they're the only like football or soccer romances that I've read. Like the only other, all the sports romances I've read are either hockey, always hockey, or like basketball or something like that. They're
Oh,
never,
really? What's a
yeah.
basketball one?
The Right Move. It's in the Windy City series.
Oh, that's a basketball.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Didn't know. Good to know.
Yeah, it's like, and I feel like I like when they're a little bit different sports. And soccer is probably the one sport I do understand because my partner's like a crazy soccer nerd. So I was like, look, at least I kind of understand when they're talking about logistics and stuff and what's going in the match. And I don't just kind of have to go,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's a fun time. It's a fun time so far.
I love that.
Shall we jump in to today's episode?
Yeah. Let's jump
Yeah.
into our chat with Sarah Mughal Rana. All right, we have the most impressive human being with us right now, Sarah Mughal Rana, author of debut fantasy, Dawn of the Firebird, which will be released so soon on December 2nd. You've also just graduated at Oxford, which I've been following on Instagram, which is also so impressive. You're also co-host of On the Right Track podcast, and you have another book, Hope Ablaze, that came out last year. So yeah, I am just so impressed at everything you've done. So, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me. And yes, just graduated literally like less than a day ago, so I like skedaddled
Yeah.
back home.
Crazy impressive.
With like, it's just such timing too, with Dawn of the Firebird literally coming out in like a week or two. What amazing
Yeah,
timing.
I was telling my publisher, I think they've seen me grow up because I sold Dawn of the Firebird 3 years ago when I was in my undergrad. So they actually literally saw me grow up from undergrad to doing my master's to like now living in the UK.
That's so cool.
We would also just like to shout out the fact that you are our first podcast guest ever. So welcome. This is a monumental moment for Once Upon a Time Zone. And I would just also like to mention that we have unlocked a new time zone today. So we have Freya, 10 a.m. for Freya right now in Melbourne. It's 6 p.m. for me right now in Toronto, and it's 11 p.m. for you right now, I'm pretty sure. So first of all, thank you for staying up late and to have this late night chat with us. And yeah.
It's fine. I like stay up to get my writing done. Like my day job just finished, like 2 minutes ago because work from home is great. You have no off hours. So I'll be
Yeah.
working anyway until like early morning to get some writing done.
Wow. So you're like a night owl. You thrive in the night.
I thrive in the night because I think the funkiest ideas hit me, and then I wake up and regret writing what I wrote last night. I feel like it's the insomnia, like that just hits different when you're trying to write.
Okay, that is so
Yeah.
interesting. Well, with everything that's been going on, I know you're such a busy person, but we always like to start our episodes with talking about our current reads. So I would just like to ask you, if you even have had the time, do you have a current read right now? Are you reading anything?
You put me on the spot. I want you guys to go first while I think and mull over my answer.
I'm actually currently reading Edgedancer by Brandon Sanderson. It's like the novella 2.5 of Stormlight Archive. I've just been getting into that. So that's my current
I
read.
love Sanderson.
So different as well because it's such a little book. It's just so odd for Brandon Sanderson.
I know. I'm like, it's only 200 pages long, 250 or something like that. I'm like, how is he going to do this in such a short amount of pages?
Well, I just finished Words of Radiance, so I was like, I'm gonna need the most silly little romance. So I'm reading The Defender by Anna Huang, which is the second book to The Striker. It's like a football romance.
I read the first book. I read the first book.
Did you like it?
I liked it. I just like, I'm really hit and miss when it comes to romance. So tell me if you like the second book better. Because I heard the second book is actually better.
I think it feels a little bit more compressed. Like I think the first one was very long, and I'm not really sure why. So this one's a lot shorter, and I'm liking it at the moment. I feel like I don't read a lot of like football romances. They're usually hockey romances, so kind of a change of speed.
I like my figure skating romances, but I do love
Yep.
sports romance in general. So I will give the second book a chance. I just realized I'm doing a reread. So I'm reading Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang. And
Ooh.
if you have not read it and you're like a fantasy slash speculative fiction fan, he is a legend. Well, I like attest him and Ken Liu as my inspirations for like some of the more intellectual type of writing. And so
Ooh,
Ted
okay.
Chiang has a collection of short stories, and so you should read Stories of Your Life and Others because like I just tell myself when I'm drafting, okay, I'll read a short story. It's like what, 1,500 words, right? So you feel like it's low commitment, but you learn so much about the craft as well as just ingenious plotting by him because he always has wacky plot twists that are tied to like very like scientific, I guess scientific science. And I'm not a scientist, but my sister is, so I love kind of dissecting it with him.
Ooh, I love
That
that. I feel
sounds
like
so cool.
both of us have been getting into our sci-fi era this year. So yeah, this
Yeah,
could be a
dipping the toes in.
good one for us.
He's a good place to start because again, it's short stories and it's super accessible. Like he puts a lot of history into it. Like I read one of his stories that was inspired by Babylon, which is my favorite kind of religious related story. So definitely check out his collection.
I'll add it to my TBR. That sounds so cool. So, with Dawn of the Firebird releasing so soon, I just wanted to ask a little bit about what is your life looking like right now? I can imagine you would have like some events coming up. How are you feeling at the moment with that all coming up?
So I first want to say I know I have another novel that came out last year, but Dawn I call my debut, my like real debut because it was my first ever novel. I did get my agent with it and I did sell it close to when I sold my YA book. So it is like
Yeah.
my real debut and I feel like I'm having a debut experience kind of. Um, so it's been crazy. I mean, like every day I wake up and I have like new emails from my publisher and it happens in the last 6 months leading up. I always like record marketing kind of videos that I can stitch up for TikTok and Instagram. And I have a bit of a marketing background just because I used to have side hustles where I used to grow like different Instagram accounts. So I kind of know my in and
Oh,
out of how to do social media. So I always try to focus on what I need to like I have a little like notes list of what kinds of videos I want to make for the week and I bulk make it, schedule it for the week. Um, and then sometimes I go on my Instagram, and I like check my tags and like comments that I need to reply to. And I am a shameless marketer. So if you tell me on my comments, oh my God, I'm adding this to my TBR, or oh my God, yes, your video has interested me. I'm shameless. I will message you back on my comment saying, okay, you said you're interested. Well, you can pre-order on Waterstones, Barnes and Noble, and remember to submit your receipt. And I do this to every comment I get, even if it's like an emoji with heart eyes. And I do it like I individualize it, but like that's the only way I was able to grow my pre-orders. When you like really just make them actually like commit to adding to cart. So I do that. And then I like have my day job, so I obviously do that. When I was on uni campus, I would be working on my classes, my thesis, and then my day job. After my day job, then I like open up my sequel, which I'm drafting. So that's Fall of the Heavenly Crane. Wasn't sure if I was supposed to say the
I
title, but
love
it's
that
okay.
title.
I've like
That's
spoiled it enough that I
amazing.
don't care. Yeah. So then I obviously open up my doc and I like try to get some words in. And my goal right now is about 1,000 words a day to 1,500. And if that manic kind of episode hits me, then I'll get to like 2,000 or 2,500. So I'm about to hit
Wow.
50K. And it's due in January. So I really have to get on it. Yeah.
That is crazy. I'm so impressed by the fact that you can balance, like, you literally just graduated Oxford. That's an incredible achievement in itself, as well as a day job, as well as, well, apparently marketing yourself as well. That is crazy.
I
Oh
think,
my
authors
gosh.
have to market themselves now.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
such a big thing with social media and everything. It's like you just need to do it yourself.
My publishers, by the way, are amazing. They've marketed me very well. But like, why not? Why just like sit passively and let them do it when I can just capitalize on the already stunning job they've done with like the package and the PR boxes? I just think it's such a wasted opportunity when I already have that buzz online, not to obviously use my own platform to try to get it, you know, to a better place.
Yeah, can I also just say, because I did get one of those PR packages, of course, and like literally amazing. Like those, what are they called? The page overlays that come with
Yeah.
it, and, like really help you visualize the story. Just immediately brought me into the world. So yeah, very amazing job with those. But about Dawn of the Firebird, for everyone who has not heard of it, can you just tell us, give us a little blurb. What is it about? What types of readers would love Dawn of the Firebird?
My trusty
Oh,
arc with me.
there it
So
is.
instead of me fumbling, I'm just going to read the blurb. So I
Perfect.
always say, Dawn of the Firebird is for fans of The Will of the Many, She Who Became the Sun, and the
Hmm.
Poppy War. So it's about the daughter of an overthrown emperor, Camilla, who was raised with her mother's nomadic tribe until a violent raid ends that peaceful life. And so in the chaos of death, she awakens this heavenly power called Noor. And so she goes from outsider to weapon in her father's court. And she must show and prove her worth. But when her empire goes through kind of another violent raid, and disaster, she must infiltrate the magical army academy of the rival empire in a bid for vengeance in order to take them down from within. And so I always say, again, if you like the Poppy War, which has that kind of academy element, Will of the Money has the academy element. Um, but She Who Became the Sun has some of the literary style prose, some of the epic war aspect to it, as well as showing the childhood of the main character. I think Dawn is a better comp to that. And so if you like kind of the feel of all of those books, and I always say Red Rising too because of the vengeance aspect, I think you
Hmm.
would love the book or at least like it to some extent, or at least give it a shot.
Yeah, it's such a different feeling fantasy, I think, and because there's so much culture infused into it, into the world, into the story, it feels really refreshing, but definitely has, yeah, a lot of those good elements. Like I always say, I love a magical academy. I always love, like, there are so many tropes in it that I love, but it also feels so rich in so many ways. But I did want to ask you, because I do love the world so much, it feels so vast. How long have you had this fantasy world kind of simmering in your brain before you put it down on paper? I know you mentioned you wrote this 3 years ago or sold it 3 years ago. How, like, what was the entire journey with, like, crafting Dawn of the Firebird?
So I wrote and finished it in high school. It was in my brain
Wow.
when I was like 14. I was an overactive kid. I loved the book Ender's Game, which if you read Ender's Game, and it is another SFS classic. And I'm not trying to promote the author. I know he's problematic, but Ender's Game really is a classic SFS book. If you read it, it has this huge kind of plot twist about genocide in the book, and it is about dehumanization and genocide. It is a military academy. It's a young prodigy who's like a military genius. And I just knew that I like writing books when the character is really good at one thing. So like for Hope of Blades, it was poetry. For Dawn of the Firebird, it's my main character being kind of a military prodigy, being really good at strategy and tactics. Even for my next fantasy that comes out in like 2 years, that one's chess. So I really like when main characters are really smart and good at something, but they're really flawed. And so I just wanted to explore that. And I took like anime like Code Geass, Attack on Titan that explore war, military, occupation, and I took those themes, and I knew I wanted to write that. So I finished the draft, got into a mentorship called Pitch Wars in 2019. So I had just graduated high school, and I got into that mentorship. And I guess I did that mentorship for a year until 2020. And my mentors and I agreed that my book probably is better, not even as crossover, but as adult. And so I worked on it for like another year, queried it, got this really big agent interested who wanted to submit it. But he unfortunately wanted me to take all the culture and Islamic elements out of the book.
Hmm.
He kind of strung me along for about almost a year. And again, he represents some of the biggest names in fantasy and honestly in writing, not even just fantasy. So I was obviously heartbroken, but my best friend at the time was like, "You're young, you're being naive. Don't fall for what he's saying. Don't divorce your book of the cultural element." And even though the book itself is all made up, like it's not Islamic, but it is inspired by Islamic hate kind of lore. I felt like I was doing a disservice to my faith and my identity if I was to concede to that agent and I take that out. And so I decided to leave it, but that meant I couldn't work with him, right?
Hmm.
So I decided to work on my YA book, Hopably. And then coincidentally, a few weeks into drafting that and almost being done drafting it, I got an offer for Dawn of the Firebird by my current agent. Um, and so long story short, like we went on stub and we sold both projects within about a year and a half. And then we delayed Dawn because I had just gotten into Oxford and I was just really overwhelmed and behind on it because I was dealing with a lot of kind of student politics at the time. So we delayed it and I ended up um, selling it to Bloomsbury, UK. And it was great. Like my editor and I got along really well. And now, 3 years later, it's coming out and it's surreal because it's been so long. But I'm happy that it's finding its readers, and that people are kind of embracing epic fantasy in a time when romantasy has taken over. I just thought I would be
Hmm.
lost in the noise, but I think I'm starting to find kind of my people, which is good.
Yeah, that's good. It's funny because I think you were mentioning in another chat that the cover of this book, like it does look very beautiful, and I feel like a lot of people relate that to romantasy, but then you open it up and you dive in, and there's so much fantasy in it. Like there's like all the war politics, all of like the magic system is so cool. There isn't really even romance in it, really. Like there are hints of it, there are crumbs, which is honestly like my favorite type of romance.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just such a refreshing read. I also, just fun fact, while I was reading it, I was just amazed at how you describe food. Going back to like the cultural influences, like I was getting so hungry reading this book because the food descriptions were so good. So thank you for that.
I was projecting a lot because I was a starved student in my dorm who was on a budget. I couldn't cook, so I was like always craving. I mean, I did cook, but I cooked like really cheap meals. So I was really craving pilaf all the time. Like I even at
Mm.
one point saved up and like cooked a big giant pot of pilaf for my friends because I just wanted some. So the book is definitely my love language to food because my parents own a restaurant in Toronto. So, I grew up with
Oh,
food.
really?
I express myself through food. I travel because of food. I'm a foodie. But yeah, thank you. I'm glad that you like the kind of the rich world. And I know it's a bit intimidating to people who haven't read a high fantasy before. So I always just tell people, I have a glossary, I have a map,
Yeah.
and it's okay if you're confused because a story can have nice world building, but if the characters are not relatable or lovable, then I think it's a bad story. And as long as you try to give my characters a chance, no matter how confused you might be, though I don't think it's that confusing. Um, I think, there's room for people to find what they like in the story. And I get tags all the time of people like, oh, I loved it for blah, 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 or I loved it because of this character, or like, so that's kind of why I wrote it. And yeah, and also by the way, I think high fantasy does deserve pretty covers, not just romantasy.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah, I was actually so
definitely agree.
pleasantly surprised, like diving into it, thinking I wasn't really expecting a romantasy, but like, yeah, the richness of the world was so, so refreshing. And I feel like Jamie and I have been talking about this a lot. We're just so much more like drawn to those kind of worlds these days. And there's just so, like, it just feels so much kind of fuller. And oh, I was blown away by your world building, especially. And I did use the glossary and the map multiple times whilst I was reading it, and that did really help the glossary, especially.
Can I just say like you're from Australia, right?
Yeah.
Can I just say like the Aussie readers have like stolen my heart and like made this experience so much better for me because I think every Aussie person who got an arc, almost every one of them read it right away.
Yeah.
And like they like
Oh,
have spoiled me in beautiful messages and tags and fan art. And I'm like, I love the Aussie readers. I love my Australian publisher. And I love the Oz arcs, even though I don't have one, but I really do want one. But yeah, I am glad that, I think right now in a time when people feel like sometimes books are kind of coming in, being a bit regurgitated or the pressure to change it to fit certain trends, which again, I love romantasy, but I have colleagues who've been pressured to rewrite epic fantasy plots into romantasy. Like I have colleagues who,
wow.
like me, are epic fantasy writers and have DM'd me upset because they had to literally rewrite their book to make it less high fantasy. So obviously
Wow.
imagine my surprise when my publisher didn't give a shit, didn't ask me to put more romance. I even said, "Do you want me to put a kiss scene?" They said no. Um,
That's so
Love
wonderful.
it.
yeah, yeah. So they've done a great job, and I'm very glad about it.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I feel like there are some books, like it's interesting that you mentioned that because there are some books where I'm like, I love the fantasy, I love the story, but then there's just such a random feeling romance that
Yeah.
sometimes it can feel just dropped in just to be there. And yeah, I guess I always wonder, like, where did this decision come from to include this romance where like everything else in the story is so good? Sometimes a romance can just feel so random in it.
I think there's pressure to spoil your romance before it's even read. As in, like, why
Yeah.
do I have to list my tropes and my enemies to whatever end game? Like, I think that
Mm-hmm.
ruins the tension of a book.
Yeah.
So, I say like there will be romance in book two. And by the way, I love
Ooh.
romance. My next fantasy is romance. I love it. But I think I like to take my time with it. I like satisfaction. I like tension.
Yeah.
And so again, I'm not going to spoil what that trope is or what that end game is because I think that does a disservice to my writing and I think it does a disservice to many talented romance writers. So again, to each their own, they can market it how they want and that's totally fine. But for myself, I'm just not comfortable doing that. And so I always warn people, you know, if you want something out of it, try to just like have open expectations instead of coming in just for like this one thing that you might have seen online.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that approach so much. Like, yeah, a lot of the time, like you know exactly what's going to happen in a romance or a romantasy because of how it's marketed. But when it surprises you, it just hits so much harder. But also, just speaking of how unique your story and world is. I think Camilla, as the main character, is one of the most unique characters I've ever read. She's honestly pretty brutal. Like there are a lot of decisions that she makes where you're like, oh my gosh, like what are you doing, girl? And there's also a really interesting way that she suppresses her memories without, I don't want to spoil too much, to just kind of keep going with her life and her journey. So I just wanted to ask you, like, how did Camilla develop as a character through your writing process? Was she always going to be this sort of character who takes this sort of journey, or did it change as you wrote her story?
It's a brilliant question. So Camilla's journey has not changed psychologically. I always like to write books that have psychological themes of someone who's just deeply kind of coping in an unwell way. And I don't know if you've watched or read Tokyo Ghoul. Yes,
No.
no.
I know a
You
little
have?
bit about it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Freya, I feel like you would love it. So, I would say people will like Camila if they like the main character of Tokyo Ghoul, and that's all I'll say without spoiling Tokyo Ghoul. But he's a very psychological kind of character who copes by suppressing his memories or being an unreliable narrator. And so I wanted to make it unreliable narrator, but really make it psychological. And so even in the first draft of the book, like literally a decade ago, it had always, the actual world and plot has changed a bit. The world has changed a lot, but not the plot that much. But the actual story of the main character has never changed, not even a little bit. Like
Mm.
every stage of the
Wow.
editing process, yeah, my editors, my mentors have always kind of kept Camila's idea of what she goes through and why she suppresses her memories. They've always kind of kept that going no matter what. And I've been surprised and shocked. Like I was fully expecting when I got acquired by Bloomsbury for them to say this is too much, par back Camila's kind of mental health kind of crisis she's had going on in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't like to brand it that way because I don't want to silo it. It's a fantasy book, but um, I've always been encouraged to do that. And Camilla's story is one of transition, and I think any individual who reads the book can relate to being in a like always either having an identity crisis sometime in their life, you know, being new or other or foreign, if it's like starting a new job, being a new student in school, graduating, going into life and adulting, like it's scary. I wanted to show all those aspects through a character. And even me, every time I have a book coming out, I feel like I go through exactly kind of what the main character is, where, Camilla's going through a new transition in her life, so am I. Even for my YA
Mm-hmm.
book, the same thing happened. And so her story has always been one of someone adapting, coping. And I think that's fundamentally such a human experience, no matter the magic, the power, the battles. This is a story that's about Camila's journey. And I don't want to say it's one of healing, but it is one of coping. And
Yep.
that's what I think is the real pull of the story. It's how do humans cope? How far do they go? And you see different spectrums of it, of the people around her and herself.
Yeah, I definitely saw that throughout the book because, like, even if as I was reading it, there were a lot of parts, I guess, of, let's say, the war, politics, and strategy that I was like, this feels a little too smart for me. Like, I don't completely understand, like, the nuances of all of it. But throughout the whole book, as I was reading, it was, yeah, like, I could connect to it because of the characters, because of these interesting emotions and feelings and thoughts they were going through. So, yeah, definitely such an interesting character to read about. Her and the supporting characters as well. I think everyone was just so wonderful. But something I did understand was the fight scenes. And I actually loved the way you wrote the fight scenes. I feel like I could picture everything. I'm always a very like physical person. So when I'm reading fight scenes, I need like the directions of things and placements of things to make sense. And I feel like it worked so well the way you wrote all of the duels and fights and everything. So how did you, I guess, like plot out or picture these fight scenes while you were writing?
Oh, one, thank you so much for asking. Two, I still remember the DM I got from you when you got to one of the duel scenes.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Yep.
oh, yay, it's hitting. Um, so I'm a martial artist. I train in traditional martial arts. So I have been training in traditional martial arts for a few years. And I'm no expert. I'm not even good. I want to be. I just have not had a lot of time to dedicate recently because of books and school. Um, but fundamentally, what I really enjoy when I read or watch a fight scene is adrenaline. So the reason why a lot of people love kind of battle anime is because they get an adrenaline rush when they literally watch a character who's an underdog kind of become
Mm,
stronger. And so I really wanted that in a book, and I haven't read it yet in a book besides like just very few ones.
mhm.
Um, I think the closest I've gotten to it is Jade City, um, by
Ooh,
Fonda Lee,
yep.
where she had, yeah, good martial arts scenes. The only thing is they started off really powerful anyway. So I was like, I really want one where you see the person kind of grow. And I really wanted to induce my actual scenes of what I went through in training or that my master went through, like my Sifu. So some of the scenes of like the horse dance training, the water on their water cups on their limbs,
Hmm.
even though like being batted with a stick, like all of it. Like I've gone through that, or like people I know in martial arts have gone through it. The incense, like holding a stance until the incense stick burns. We've, I've gone through that. Not myself, sorry, my master's gone through that. Um, I used to put like spice packets on each of my joints while holding a stance. And if I switch in my stance and it falls off, I've done it wrong. I have to redo it over and over again. So I
Wow.
really wanted an authentic martial arts experience, like what you see in the epic, like Jackie Chan movies. Um, and then I also, so I wanted to be empirically kind of correct-ish while using some magic. And then secondly, I wanted to give readers an adrenaline rush where they feel hype, like, ah, I want them to win. No matter what they
Hmm.
think about the or the book, I want them to be hyped. So for me, how I plot out a fight scene has to follow the trajectory of a regular emotional scene, right? A scene has a low, then it has an emotional high, and then it has like a climax, and then it kind of ends, and sometimes it ends on a cliffhanger. I wanted the fight scene to literally mimic my main character's arc. So that's how I plot it out. So no matter what the moves are, the emotions have to tie to the beat. And so you can read, okay, they do a palm flick, then they like do a hook, and then they do a jab. That's boring. What you actually want to write is the emotions in each movement. So that's why I try to use really short, snappy dialogue, not more than like 2 words, 3 words. Anything longer, you're
Hmm.
losing momentum. And then before the fight, it's really good to have them have some kind of spar. And then the end, the main character's outcome has to reflect something about what they spoke about in the beginning in order to kind of give it that like last kind of So
Yep.
that's what I mimicked a lot. Yeah, especially like if my main character's losing a fight scene, winning, whatever, it has to mimic kind of that.
I think you really achieved that. Like the tension that surrounded those fight scenes as well was insane. Like I was on the edge of my seat when I was reading them because you almost didn't feel like you knew what was going to happen. Like I feel like because our characters were still. Oops, I just hit my mic because I was so passionate about it. But yeah, no, it was really incredible. They really held like yeah, a sense of tension about them, which you're right. It doesn't always happen if they're kind of like a dragged out dialogue almost.
Yeah, I get a lot of messages about those fight scenes, like, and it's always like, oh, I don't know what's gonna happen, and I'm like, I thought it was pretty obvious, but I'm always flattered when someone says that.
Oh
Well, I
yeah, I
also
didn't
just
see.
feel like, yeah, like the entire journey is unpredictable because there have been so many terrible things that have already happened that it's like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know if this will end up well or bad. Like, it
Yeah,
really keeps you on your toes.
I think someone like tagged me saying this book should be called The Series of Unfortunate Events. And I'm
Yeah.
okay,
It's like,
they're
what
right.
more can happen here?
Yeah.
Again, but kind of refreshing for a fantasy book because you don't know the typical like plot progression that it's going to follow. And I feel like that's an element I really, really enjoyed about it.
Thank you. I'm glad. I don't want to be a predictable writer, so I'm very glad to hear that.
Yeah, no, I love it. I
Um,
also like, I found that I really love tragic endings to stories too. So anything that just keeps like pummeling you down and down, like I eat it up every single time. So it's definitely a book for me.
it really is. It takes a lot of Jamie's boxes, actually.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah, I do love anything that starts with like I don't even know where I was going with that, but I love when it ends in tragedy too.
Yes. Yeah, like make me cry, make me just so like distraught at the end of the
Yeah,
book and I will love it.
crying, yes. My goal is to make a reader cry, So I always just feel so happy. And I feel like I feel really bad because I don't want to belittle the themes in the book. Like whenever I'm like, wah,
Mm-hmm.
wah, boo, boo, every time someone like messages me about like chapter 7 or chapter 37, I'm like, I'm not belittling the themes in the book, but I am definitely like,
Yeah. You did your job when someone feels such strong emotions. So, yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about like your publishing journey and like the ups and downs and stuff, which is really interesting. And kind of pivoting towards the online side of things. I know that you're on various platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Goodreads and everything. And we, from experience, know how brutal it can get out on the internet when people start to form their opinions. And we know also that unfortunately you've been the target of a lot of like misinformation and stuff, which is really, really hard to navigate. So yeah, just what is this whole kind of experience, like the ups and downs, I guess, of social media and like, yeah, kind of marketing your book and misinformation? What's that been like for the past, I guess, while since you've been publishing or reaching that point of publishing?
so I won't lie. It's been scary.
Mm.
It's been really, really scary. I don't think any debut author, when they sign up to be an author, signs up knowing that they have to go to the police station once a week, twice a week.
Ooh.
Um, that they have to hire lawyers and talk to them almost every day for the months leading up. I also want to make a small correction that I'm not on Goodreads. I'm only on Instagram and TikTok. And I'm on only those two platforms because I've deemed those the safest. I'm not even on Threads. Because unfortunately, yes, I have been getting harassed. I have been getting defamed for almost 2 years now. I think February would mark about 2 years, or March would mark 2 years. Um, and yeah, as a debut, I didn't think I would have to spend the 6 months leading up to my book coming out, going to the police station, hiring expensive lawyers. But sadly, when you are a author and, people and publishers are supporting you, sometimes you become the target of bad people. And sometimes those people are within the industry. And in my case, when I started getting harassed, for context, it was I had someone, what we suspect, what police and myself suspect, is one person behind multiple accounts, who
Ooh, yeah.
ended up spreading disgusting things about me on Goodreads, online, posting it all over different websites. From what my knowledge, from what police have been sent, it's not even just on Goodreads, it's on YouTube, it's on Threads, it's on Reddit. And it seems to be the same account because it's copy pasting kind of the same language. And I think it got really dark. Like I was ignoring it for like the better part of the year, for almost a year, until that person started masquerading as Muslim Palestinian. And that's when I was like, whoa, this is getting really dark. Like this is someone who's pretending to be people from either a cause I advocate for, that I wrote a book that also talks
Mm-hmm.
about these themes, or they were masquerading as Muslim, which is my faith, my identity, to decredit me. And I mean, Jamie, I think even you got a DM when you went to my event. This person starts DMing my readers, my anyone who goes to my event. They started emailing my teams. They started emailing other teams, other agencies. It got really, really dark. It got really bad. I think I reached a point where I just wanted to quit kind of writing. I
Oh.
seriously sat down in July and I was like, I don't want to be an author anymore. But if it wasn't for such a supportive team I have of my agent, my publisher, I think it says a lot that no matter how bad the defamation gets, how bad the harassment got, and no matter what people want to believe, the fact that my publishers have always had my back because they know I'm completely innocent, like 1,000%
Mm-hmm.
innocent, is what reinvigorated kind of my faith that I can keep going, that there's a reason why this book is coming out, and that I give in to the bad actor in the industry who seems to be stalking me, seems to be harassing me, seems to be going after my family. I give in to that kind of evil when I want to quit. And, I would even advise, why don't you just go offline? You don't have to see it. And I am offline. Like I don't check my reviews unless I'm tagged. So I actually didn't even know I was getting defamed until a year later. Like I didn't know how bad the review bombing got. But when the
Wow.
police, when I got a team together to collect all the evidence, they collected over 50 accounts. And that's just the ones there's way more. I think there was almost 100 accounts dedicated just to harassing me a year and a half before
What?
my book came out, before arcs were sent. So people might be like, oh, what if it's real? No, no, this was before arcs, before arcs. So it goes to show how kind of unwell, and I hope this person gets help, and I hope that I'm very confident the police will be able to track them down. I'm not going to say too much about that case, but I have
Yeah.
faith in the police, and I think we're making good progress. But I've taken legal action. My lawyers are great, and I think that's what's given me a lot of energy. If I went offline and I just pretended this wasn't happening, which I did do for a year, and that didn't work,
Mm-hmm.
being quiet and passive is not how you get to them. It's being unapologetic. It's giving the book the best foot forward. And so the real reviewers, like the real people, have helped drown out this noise of this persistent harasser.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so that was a big learning lesson for me that I need to keep going. That's why I'm still online. I post on TikTok. I grow my TikTok. I post on Instagram. I grow my Instagram instead of being passive. And it is scary. I won't lie. Every day I wake up with a huge kind of weight on my chest. And it's sad because that is how you silence Muslim voices. But that's unfortunately how the industry is. And I think the greater conversation around this is not my case. It's how do we set up safeguards where we're not so reliant on Goodreads and this kind of whisper like reviewer network that
Mm-hmm.
can easily defame and ruin someone's life because it did. They went after my family. They went after me. It made me
Wow.
incredibly unsafe to the point where I had to move. So we need to have better safeguards in place that protect authors, especially debuts, that don't, we need to have a verification system for reviewers where you have an arc, you review, or you're validated by. There should not be any reason why on Barnes and Noble's website people can review before the book is actually out. Because I got review bombed on there
Yeah.
too. And I don't check my reviews, but Barnes and Noble I check because I have to get the link up to promote it. But I see
Right.
review bombed by the same accounts there. So there's no reason why this should be allowed. And I was unfortunately a huge target. I did get defamed. But then fortunately in the past few weeks, people have realized that I've been getting defamed and I've been silent about it and I don't want to be silent anymore.
No, that's incredibly brave of you as well. And just like, it's not fair at all that you've had to like go through this, but the steps that you have taken, like, I just admire you for it, honestly. There's such incredibly brave steps to take, but the right ones. So props to you because that's incredible.
Yeah, it took a lot. I wish I kind of went sooner. Like I did ignore it for a while because I didn't know what to do. But then you
Mm-hmm.
realize as the internet's becoming so siloed and it's causing all these like bad actors, there are better safeguards now in the UK and in other Commonwealth countries as well that are now starting to actually crack down on persistent harassers like that. So if you're an author or a reader who's going through it, take action right away. Don't wait.
Yeah, it is like it is scary how something can just be posted, a little comment, a little note, or whatever, and people will just take that as fact and run with it. And it's like this could be coming from anyone, it could be coming from one person with 100 different accounts. Like you never really know. And with the internet, it's like, I don't know, sometimes it's hard to find like facts versus fake things.
Yeah, like
So,
I feel like this experience to me was so synonymous with what Camila went through in Dawn of the Firebird. I know you're
mm-hmm,
like, but how? Like war, whatever. What I mean by that is one, like her journey is someone who's dehumanized and she feels like she loses her sense of self. And I can't lie, being a debut already is hard. You feel dehumanized, you feel like you're losing your sense of self. But then going through this on top of like finishing school, kind of my other crazy stuff in my personal life really made me feel like I wasn't a person anymore. And it wasn't until I did an event with this amazing author, like I got to moderate their event and they gave me amazing advice because they've gone through something similar. They were like, I know how you feel. You feel like you lose your sense of self, like you're not a person anymore. I was like, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. And then to see Camila's journey where she finds her family, a found family, I would not have survived this debut experience if it wasn't for 16 random authors and reviewers who came together to collect evidence and submit it to police. Like
Wow.
I will be writing the longest book to acknowledgments. It's completely dedicated just to them. And even, encouraging me, one of my friends coming with me all the way from France, coming with me to the police station, you know, them going and making sure all the evidence was compiled for my team. And even my wonderful publishers who didn't let that affect the marketing, who put everything into the beautiful package of the book. That kind of found family that I found from these people, or even the two, like even you guys, like taking the time to reach out, Jamie, you especially, and these other two random bloggers who I've never talked to in my life figured out I was getting harassed without me ever having to say anything because people just picked up on it and did their own deep dive and realized that I, as a person who was in full-time school or work a full-time job to support my family, couldn't do any of the things that I was being accused of and just figured it out without having to actually know me. That is something that I can never repay. And I felt like Camila, where I kind of went through this journey of feeling like I was being dehumanized, but finding my right community. And I think that, again, it's such a human experience that we all go through, not just me, not just her. We'll all go through crazy stuff that is thrown at us. But it's that
Mhm.
community around you that really matters.
Yeah, no, totally. It's the same thing with being like a book talker or a booktuber or a podcaster. It's like you find the people that know, you try not to get like that those negative comments get to you. You get a nice like, yeah, a found family, really, like your own found family, a support group that knows what you're going through. And yeah, it just really goes to show that you have so many real life people supporting you, backing you, and yeah, I mean, I think you're a wonderful person. I think you're a wonderful author. So, yeah, so sorry to hear that you've been going through this, but I think everything will work out. I think everything is working out. So,
Thank you. I'm sorry that you guys went through that. Like, I know being online is like being public figures is like you're inviting kind of the trolls and it sucks that you have to go through it.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like kind of a part of the job. It's like you signed up for it, but you didn't sign up for it at the same time.
And you're right, it's hard to make like that distinction between like just ignoring it and just like not letting it get to you. And then when it gets to a point, you have to do something. It's very much you like learn on the job.
Yeah. I think we can all relate to that, which is like you just did this because you love books the same way I love books. You didn't invite all the other kind of noise and craziness, but
Yep.
unfortunately, I think that's why we need some kind of safeguard in our community.
No, totally agree. Well, I think we're gonna move on to some rapid fun
Bring
fire,
the mood up a little
rapid
bit.
fire fun facts. So we're just gonna go through a couple things. You're gonna tell us as quick as you can which one you choose. So our first one is Phoenix or Crane.
Crane,
Great, we love cranes.
Yeah.
Magic school or found family.
magic school,
Ooh,
Ooh,
chosen one
interesting.
or reluctant hero.
reluctant hero.
Okay, yeah,
I
that makes
don't,
sense.
I don't know if Camila is a chosen one or a reluctant hero. I don't know, but I just know I like reluctant heroes. I don't like chosen ones that much.
I feel like she's a mix of both. I feel like
Yeah,
she
I was
kind of
about to
sits in the
say,
middle.
in the best way possible. Like
Yeah, it's a
again,
good
it's
place
kind
to
of not
be.
playing into the same like one trope. It's like you don't know.
Yep, goes with the theme. Okay, enemies to lovers or friends to lovers?
Just to lovers, man. Like, what is this question?
I love that.
I
Okay,
like
and then
love enemies to lovers. Only when it's done right. I'm sick of the if they get together in the first book, something is messed up. Something's
yeah,
not recording.
we've got to take the time with it for it to
It's like, yeah,
work.
can you really call it enemies to lovers if that happens? I don't know.
Not just
They
a
weren't real
rival, but
enemies. Yeah. And then our last one, I think I know what this one's going to be, but happily ever after or tragically beautiful ending.
magically beautiful ending. Like,
Um,
do not let that inform. Like, that did not mean I'm going to be writing a tragically beautiful ending.
I was just about to say, like, are you trying to tell us something about the next two books in this series? Yeah, makes me a little scared, but I also love those types of endings. But that being said, talking about your next book and what you're writing next. I know you mentioned the second book is maybe going to be titled Fall of the Heavenly Crane. Is there anything else you can tell us about the sequel at this point?
So, I don't know what the actual title is. That's the title I have. And yes, I'm working on it, and I hope it can come out like sometime soon. Pray for me that I finish it.
Fingers
All I can
crossed.
say, yeah, all I can say is I think it takes some of the like aspects people have seemed to like in book one, which is like poison, some of
Oh,
the
yes.
like war kind of epic, but and that's definitely way more found family, I think. I think the story is all about Camila discovering what her heart really is, like trying to figure out what her heart is if she's capable of love. So it's love of all forms. So I think it's been really fun kind of writing how Camila's trying to cope with all the stuff that happened in book one, but also trying to figure out if she's worthy of love.
Hmm.
So the guilt and all of that is there. Um, so yeah, that's like the main project that I'm working on, and I really hope I can finish it. I did figure out I am starting to dabble in book three as well, so I know exactly how it will end,
Oh,
and I feel really good about that.
okay. That's so good
I
to
don't
know.
know whether to
So
be nervous or not.
exciting. Yeah, yeah.
And I did want to say, like as people know, it comes out December, but for anyone who's in Australia and New Zealand, Dawn of the Firebird comes out in January, which gives you guys more
Oh,
time to read the arc and request art.
awesome. That's really good to know,
We
actually.
are, yeah. Usually we are like a month or two behind on certain book releases. So it's okay. More time for us to anticipate it for everyone who isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More excitement. And that sequel sounds incredible. I feel like all those elements you mentioned, like I personally have been seeking books with poison. I think everyone who like follows me, watches my content knows that
Yeah.
I love poison stories. Found family, of course, is always wonderful. And yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a really good emotional story. So looking forward to it. That being said, I think that brings us to the end of this chat. So, Sarah, thank you so much for joining us
Thank you so
today and being
much.
our number one, our first and best guest of Once Upon a Time Zone, episode 21.
You're
We're
going
so
down in
honored to have
history
you.
on Once Upon a Time Zone.
Yeah.
Really, I had so much fun.
So that was just, yeah, such a wonderful chat. So many insights that we just learned, I feel like, with the publishing industry, with how long it takes to publish a book, too. Like the fact that she wrote this book while she was in high school and then sold it 3 years ago and then it has been working on it and editing until now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like
that's very,
finding
very
the right
impressive.
publisher as well. Like, it's not just like, oh, you get sold to a publisher and everything's great. It's finding the right fit for you and your book. Super interesting.
Yeah, and also with all the ups and downs of publishing, unfortunately, there are downs, but lots of high moments as well. If you haven't read Dawn of the Firebird, definitely check it out. It's a really, truly unique fantasy, I think. A wonderful high
Yeah.
fantasy that does not shy away from the hard topics, very immersive world with lots of culture and lore and wonderful world building, interesting characters, found family, magical academy setting, poison, just lots of wonderful things in it. If you haven't read it yet, definitely check it out. And yeah, Sarah's just incredible. If you are still here listening to the end, thank you for listening wherever you are in the world or whatever time zone you're in.
Until next time, stay comfy and keep reading.
Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on socials for more bookish content.
Bye. See you next time.